Nerdcube.
Zolas. Deep finesse. Logus. Basic Goa. Get ready for Terra Mystica's Tuesday League.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second season of the Terra Mystica Tuesday League. This is Steve Finesse, and today I have AJ Andrew joining me. Hi, AJ.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, and welcome to the second season. I'm AJ Yates. Here with arguably the best player in the world, Deep Finesse. Yeah, casting this game.
The second season of the Premier League. Players we have Zorus, Bisagoa, Nerdcube, and Logus today. So we have Bisagoa and Logus joining us from Division 1 of Bisagoa from the European Division and Logus from the American Division. They won their respective divisions, and so they were automatically promoted to the Premier League.
So of course, Logus, longtime Terra Mystica player, something of a legend on Snellman, inventor of 7-structure swarmlings, also been winning a lot on BGA for quite a while now, certainly not one of the newer move-overs like Green Rain. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what he has for us here in the Premier League.
Bisagoa, I'm not so familiar with myself. I don't think I might not actually have played him in any games, not sure about that. But excited to play against him in the upcoming weeks.
Yeah, I think Bisagoa is like the least well-known of these four players. Certainly a very strong player, nothing against it all, but I think also clearly the dark horse here. I think if people were placing bets, I think the odds on him would be the longest. But that's not to say that he doesn't stand a chance, because he certainly does, certainly a strong player. But I'm not exactly sure what Bisagoa is known for, so I cannot tell you that either. But yeah, and so then of course we have Nerdcube returning. Nerdcube, I think, is thought to be is one of the other candidates for the strongest player in the world right now. Perennial arena champion, known for his love of giants, also known for his love of double temple and shipping strategies, I suppose. But
that's true. We'll see if he still gets to do his favorite double tempo things.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he's allowed to start with other openings now, or if he still is forced to continue double tempo.
And it's a new season, but if he sets a precedent in this game, then he might have to he might have to keep going on with it.
Yeah, and then of course the other player we have here is Zorus, host of this league. Most people are probably familiar with Zorus from his streams and YouTube videos. Some of the better informative Terra Mystica content, I think. Zorus made it, I think, on a rating-based promotion, despite coming in second to Logus, or maybe not second, losing to Logus in the European League. But an incredibly strong player, long-time member of the community, has seen some success in F2O, basically has every accolade in the book, except a Premier League appearance.
And Zorus has also put a lot of effort into preparing the Premier League and organizing. And he's also pulling a Bizzo today, streaming and playing at the same time. So hopefully that goes okay. And let's head over to the game.
Okay.
So Nerdcube is hosting this week, and so every week the players rotate hosts, and the host gets to pick the map for the game and also some of the settings, like whether or not there's final scoring and whether or not landscapes are on.
Right, and so this is a base map with landscapes game. Nerdcube has expressed before that he likes base map a lot because it's very chess-like. Usually people know kind of where people are going to start and how things are going to play out to a substantially greater degree than the other maps, just because it's been so heavily played throughout Terra Mystica history. Any initial observations about the setup here?
So let's see, we have dwelling into 2 trading posts into big building followed by dwelling. Usually round 1 dwelling scoring we see, and in particular on base map, a couple of factions that can do a dwelling spree opening, mermaids, the green factions, sometimes cultists or halflings depending on their starting spot, and also nomads. So also possibly engineers. So really, we also see Temship in the game. So it's very likely that one of the factions will open a Dwelling Rush and skip Earth 1.
Yeah, very much agreed. I think a Dwelling Rush is very possible here, and we see that both Mermaids and Orin have been placed in already.
Mhm,
So certainly the players are thinking the same thing that we're thinking.
mhm,
But the track in general is very high scoring. I mean, but even past the Dwelling Rush, like Dwelling Rushing into TPs is a very convenient scoring. Big buildings around
mhm,
round 4 is like a reasonable place to build them for many factions. And then last round
mhm,
towns is of course an incredibly high scoring event. Uh,
mhm,
Often 15 or 20, well, maybe 20 ambitiously, but often 15 points for various factions there, 10 at very
mhm.
least. So
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
it is an incredibly high scoring track. The passing tiles don't have that many points on them. There's only
Mhm,
TP and big building scoring, which look
mhm,
and big building scoring looks a little awkward with the track too, because you kind of don't want to build your big buildings till round 4. But
mhm,
still, with such a high scoring track, economic strategies still seem very good. Um,
mhm. Yes, yes, agree. Do agree on the 3 towns incoming for most of the factions around 6. Probably only 2 for cultists, since I think we lost Andrew there for a second.
but
But
I'm still here.
oh, I'm sorry. Yeah. Uh, I saying probably only 2 towns incoming for cultists. For round 6, since they often want. They're probably fighting Orans for the 2 key town in this game. And probably 3 towns for mermaids, 3 for nomads. Nomads could aim for 4, but it's always a risky strategy.
Yeah, that certainly ambitious, but not impossible. And we see here
Mhm,
the bidding is well underway. Uh, Cultists being bid pretty heavily. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think in general, Cultists is probably going to win at least 2 cults here, maybe more depending on how early Orange builds their stronghold and like how those two decide to prioritize things. I also
mhm,
think in general, like Cults is kind of the strongest baseline faction of these 4. So I do
mhm,
think bidding them pretty strongly does make sense.
mhm. You did mention that this is base map, so really the starting spots should all be known. But I must admit that I do not know. Even like for the very common color matchups, like I don't know, Mend, I have no idea where they go, let alone this one. But I find it pretty fun to work out from first principles on where people are going.
Well, I mean, okay. I mean, we can start thinking about that here, I think, as the auction gets going here. I mean, I think
Mhm,
mermaids almost always want to start D5, E4, pretty much no matter
mhm,
what happens, come hell or high water. And
mhm,
I don't see that changing here. I think that blue and yellow have a really beautiful relationship when nomads kind of join them up on that E or D3 hex. And
Yes, I think
so,
that's also almost like we'll say that's a given. That's a given.
right. So
Nomads.
so that all seems very likely, right? Uh,
Mhm,
Then cultists usually start E6, F5 when there's no black in the game.
mhm,
Um, and I don't think that nomads potentially starting in the center with them is going to stop them. I think they'll just start there, except that they might not get a town, except that like that's just a good leech hex for them and a good way to get some early cult steps by like presenting leech to others.
mhm,
So I think that's very likely.
mhm,
I think that what's sort of questionable is so Oren probably wants to start F4, and
Yeah.
then often they'll start G4 to kind of block mermaids from like taking that.
C4. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Agree. Mhm,
So I think those are like the level 0 starting hexes.
mhm,
Now that doesn't account for Nomad's third dwelling,
mhm,
which I think there are a few different options for, and there are some possibilities for alternative starts. For example, if Oren thinks that Nomads will
mhm,
take Temp Ship, maybe C4
mhm,
is less appealing. Um, but I think those are the most likely. That's the most likely setup.
Yes. Yes. I agree. Actually, if no, even if nomads are taking temp ships, C4 is still pretty attractive to me because you can take priest. You could probably get priest first action. Not for sure, but if you can get priest first action, you can increase ship and still do the dwelling rush with the spade bonus tile.
Oh, that's very true. That's very true. Yeah. So probably I think those will just be the starting hexes.
Mhm,
Again, that doesn't account for Nomad's third dwelling, which the most obvious is to start with an additional center hex,
mhm,
to get more leech. But also starting over in the east by cultists is possible if they
mhm,
want to disrupt cultists, or if they
mhm,
just want to kind of be able to build their own town over there with a bridge maybe to H5. Um,
mhm,
And even starting in the north sometimes is something that makes sense for nomads if they want to beat cultists to some key hexes up there, maybe. I don't
Yeah.
know.
I like B4 more. In fact, I think B4 may be actually more disruptive to cultists than G4. Because B4 is a larger threat to cultist connection.
No, I think you're probably right. I think probably G4 makes less sense than B4 here. I was just kind of going over the possibilities for nomads, but that one does sort of look like the strongest. I agree. Also, if R and R at C4, they actually have a neighbor up there, which is really nice for them because usually on that square you're kind of sacrificing
Yes.
neighbors.
Yes. I guess we figured it out then, didn't we? I mean, we're gonna call it. We're gonna call these starting locations. I think. Yeah, it's. I don't see any strong reason to deviate from what we just discussed.
Yeah, I do think that seems like the most likely. Okay, so let's keep thinking here. So if those are the starting locations, I think the most natural progression of bonus tiles is that nomads will take the spade. I think
Yeah,
Orin will take
agreed.
temp ship. Mermaids will take power worker for the double dig, and then
Mhm.
cultists will take the 2 worker tile to start double temple. What are your thoughts on that?
Totally agree. Um, Cultists, well, cultists could also take priest though. Let me think about that for a
Oh
second.
yeah. So I guess one problem is they don't
Um,
necessarily have a second neighbor for their double
mhm.
temple.
Yes, they will eventually get one when Orange ships there. But it might take them a while.
Right. Like if Orin don't end up getting the single spade in round 1, which it's unclear to me whether
Mhm.
they will or not,
Mhm.
then they won't be on E9 in round 1, so there won't be a neighbor at F5. And
Mhm.
so maybe cultists are concerned about that, instead go for the priest. Um, Also, I do think double temple openings are weaker when the cult rewards in round 1 are priest, because you'll kind of have a lot of priests anyway, so you don't need to
Mhm.
get that production going as much. So maybe they
Mhm.
just go for the priest here, take a single dig on G5, and open like temple 3 dwellings or something like that.
Orin will beat them to the single dig though, because they only start with 7 power. So
Hmm.
if Orin takes 10 shed, they will be able to single dig C5 first action.
Oh, that's true. That's true. So I guess,
Yeah.
interesting.
It does
Interesting.
look like Orin will lose. Wait. Orin gets to. Oh yeah, never mind. It looks like Orin will lose C3 to mermaids.
Yeah, they definitely will if they
Mhm.
do this opening. But
Mhm.
I think they're probably okay with that. I mean, I think the economics, the temperature opening in a dwelling round is strong
Mhm.
enough that they don't care.
Yes, but it's still a pretty big blow. I'd say it might be anywhere like I don't know, just putting a number, 4 to 5 point swing getting C3 or not. Like you're missing the 2 points building the dwelling round 1, but you're also missing like the economy of getting a dwelling out and like just extra green hex and all that. It's but I do think Mermaid is going to double dig C3 first action.
Yeah,
So yeah.
I agree. I mean, as Marines, I would definitely just go for the very boring C3 F2 as my first
Mhm.
2 digs. I think, which
Mhm.
does potentially mean that you'll lose E5, but
Mhm.
that's okay. You don't really care, I think. Um,
Mhm. And
and
we have the factions. It looks like Bisico ended up on Orange. I think he was also the one that put Orange into the auction. So it's like Orange is clearly the weakest faction out of these 4. It's just a matter of like how weak people think they are, and evidently Bisico is doesn't think they aren't as weak as they might seem. It's a trap I usually fall in myself. Like I hop on Orange. I'm a little too eager to hop on Orange. I'm not sure if Bisico has fallen into a similar trap here or if they'll play well.
well, I mean, I do think with landscapes on, it makes a pretty big difference, right? Like when Orin have their landscape on, I mean, assuming they win like 2 call tracks, they'll get like 8 points from it. So they're like
Mhm,
basically witches. I mean,
mhm,
like when I say, I mean they're approximately as strong a faction as witches are.
mhm,
And I think that given that, and given that they have this like good, strong economic temp opening, it plays the track pretty well. It
mhm,
makes sense to me that Orin would be worse, but not a lot worse than the other options.
mhm.
I mean, I don't know how
Yes,
you feel about
yes.
this, but I
Yeah,
generally feel like. Oh, sorry.
agree. Definitely agree that the 8 points coming in from the landscape is going to be pretty big. I'm not. I'm a little worried about the 8 points though. Like because we do have cultists in the game, and if they beat you to the two key town, we also have mermaids in the game who quite often can win water, especially with so many rewards on water track.
That's
Uh,
true. I mean, for example, what sort of thing you're thinking about is like mermaids here could consider a water 2 opening,
mhm,
because I don't know if they'll I don't know if they'll be able to get the priest action because I'm assuming they're going to want to take the double dig.
mhm,
But if they opened water 2 with their temple, they'd immediately get that priest reward, and then they'd be able to channel that priest reward plus the cult that's from water 2 into a bunch more of like culty play. And if they do that, I think it's unlikely that they won't win a single track. Like I think Marines will probably manage to win one track. Um,
mhm, mhm,
Most likely water, but even possibly some other track with the cult steps and the bonus priest income. So that does
mhm.
kind of put Orin's like 8 points in jeopardy because cultists is very hard to prevent from winning 2 tracks. I mean that it is very rare to see cultists win only a single track. Um,
Mhm. Chat saying to stop trying to make Water 2 happen. But Water 2 does give you a lot. Water 2 gives you a priest that you can send to air. And it also gives you the 2 steps on air. So Water 2 gives you a priest to send to air, and then gives you the spade from air. And then gives you the spade from water, and then gives you the 2 workers from air. Uh,
yeah, I understand that water 2 is kind of a meme and that is like very often wrong, but I think there's a case for it here. Like I think we might see it. I'm not guaranteeing that. You know, it wouldn't be
yeah.
unreasonable for Zoras to just take fire
Mhm.
1, get his coin economy going. Like that's certainly
Mhm.
sensible as well. But with that TP round in the second round, like he can just make some TPs then maybe to get that coin economy going. So I think personally I would open water 2 here.
Mhm. It's a lot of points. It's a lot of points to give up, especially you're opening tempo 3 dwellings, right? So you're gonna have to spend a lot of coins, and you're immediately giving up 6 points for the privilege of the priest plus the spade plus 2 workers, which seems like a reasonable trade-off. But I mean, there's also ripple effects in the future. Um,
Yeah, and I mean I do think the biggest argument against it is that in general, you kind of want to do what your opponents aren't doing, right? If everybody's playing network,
mhm,
you want to play cults. If everybody's playing cults,
mhm,
you want to play network, right? And in this game,
agree.
against 2
Mhm,
cult factions, playing the cults looks worse for mermaids, right?
mhm,
This is if it were say like Bakir's Darklings
mhm.
mermaids, Orin, that would be different,
Mhm.
right? Then we'd say,
Yes.
okay, the cults are up for grabs. Mermaids can take over the cults with his water 2. Here, that's not
Mhm.
really the case. I don't
Mhm.
think they're going to score that many cult victory points, but
Mhm.
the econ from it still might be good enough.
Mhm. Yeah, I can't believe you provided like a counter argument like immediately after we converted someone in chat. It looks like so, or more people. So
Okay,
we'll see. We'll see if Zoris does the water too spicy play.
what looks like the game is underway kind of as we described. People started mostly where we expected, except Nomads did not choose to go for B4. Nomads did end up
Yes.
going for the center dwelling instead, perhaps opting
Mhm.
for more leech at the expense of disrupting cultist connection.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah. Well, um, which one is more disruptive to Costa's connection? B4 has to be more disruptive, right?
I
Because
think so.
mhm. There,
Um,
to some extent, Cotis can also connect through E8, and they can get to E8 faster with 2 ship. So it might depend on how the game plays out, but they're equally targeting the Cotis connection.
Yeah, although notably, like cultists don't actually have to connect, right? Like they could play a disconnected game here. It's not unreasonable because, like, for example, Nomads is
Mhm.
certainly going to beat them on network no matter what they do. It's
Mhm.
plausible, but not guaranteed that Mermaid beats them on network no matter what they do. Or having a
Mhm.
strong economic opening, like I can see the arguments for playing a small and tall cultist strategy and just not
Mhm.
stress too much about connection. Like if it happens, but don't force it. Um,
Mhm.
but I'm not saying that will occur. I just think it's certainly plausible in this setup.
Mhm. The other thing to note is Cotis did take the priest. Like the guarantee of the green neighbor is probably too slow for the double tempo to work out well because Cotis is also the first player they need to take a move
Yeah,
before Orange joins them.
the tempo is too awkward. It appears. Yeah, and I think
Mhm.
that's reasonable. In the end, starting to double tempo here would be great, but it doesn't seem like it's possible. And
Mhm.
the priest cult ward also weakens it. So I do think this makes sense. Orn
Mhm.
also did get the single dig, it looks like, and we're able to grab C5,
Mhm.
which is certainly not unexpected, but definitely on plan for them. Um,
Mhm.
I mean, I think the first round is going pretty much exactly as we had guessed.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. There. I guess there's also the question of where does mermaids put the temple, and it looks like mermaids decided to put on d5, which is mermaids will probably still need a temple at e4, though not necessarily. But d5 does look like almost certainly in need of a temple. Mermaids is going to dig another black somewhere in the north to form that town.
Yeah, I mean, I think this makes sense. I mean, basically, like, the biggest considerations for the Templars are twofold. Like, where will you get Leech, and where will your Sanctown be later, right? And
Mhm,
what Murray's is saying is, okay, I think it's very likely my Sanctown will be with B3 in that, like, 3-hex central town. And as well, the E4 hex, there are some options to not need a Sanctown there. So as a result, that's
mhm,
where they're putting their temple. And I think that's logical. I do think
mhm,
it's possible that E4 would have ended up with more Leech, because Nomads is going to take E3 and build around you, and E5 might be taken by either Nomads or Cultists at some point too. Um,
mhm.
but I think
Also
opting
agree. Yeah. Mhm,
so I do think they're definitely opting for like less Leech in exchange for a more useful temple location. But I also think that might be reasonable, because I'm not sure how soon they're going to want to build a second temple this game. Like, they might just build one temple early and then just not build any more temples until they build their sanctuary out of that single temple they already built.
mhm.
That seems very possible to me.
Yes, yes, also agree on that. We do see one spicy play out of left field. Nerdcube taking Earth 2 with this tempo as nomads. Now that's something we don't see very often.
Yeah, that
And in
is
fact,
very interesting.
I cannot recall the last time I saw Earth 2 from Nomads. Nomads is usually such a coin starred faction. So, and without any culture wards on the Earth track, this Earth 2 does seem pretty surprising to me.
I'm definitely surprised as well. I would have expected either the bog standard Earth one or Fire one, but what I think Nerdcube is planning is I think he's planning to pass onto the TP tile and then make 3 TPs in round 2 during TP
Mm-hmm.
round with a TP tile. And once he
Mm-hmm.
does that, his worker income will be totally gone. So he wants R2 to
Mm-hmm.
kind of get him over the hump into making
Mm-hmm.
board dwellings in round 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a great point. Yes. Okay. I suddenly like this play a lot more now that yes. That makes so much sense. That's great. Although Nerdcube did make a very small tactical error here. If he's deciding to take Earth 2 as his first favor, he should have done E3 first with a single spade.
Mm.
This is the loss of half a leech. Well, like one leech, half half a power, and then a gain of half a power from mermaids at the expense of 1 point.
Yeah, I do think it's weird that he decided to do it in that order, given that he was taking Earth 2. I mean, I'm wondering if maybe for some reason he wanted to indicate that he was taking Earth 2 so that other players would be less inclined to take Earth 1 so he could get it later, or something strange like that. I mean, I acknowledge I'm kind of grasping at straws, but like, that does seem like the best reasoning I have for why someone might deny themselves a free leash.
Yeah. Well, I think the Earth 2 play was great. Like the logic, once you pointed it out, it was so clear. And I'm a big fan of that play. But here we're just gonna call this a tiny error by Mr. Nerdcube here.
Yeah, I mean, certainly even the best of us.
Sequencing error.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much to consider with sequencing time Mystica. Certainly, even the best of us are not immune to a small mistake. But yeah, so be it. So from there, it looks like the round is proceeding pretty normally. Logus is currently considering his options here. I'm not too sure what he's perhaps trying to figure out what like power action he wants here is my guess. So he sort of has his pick of the litter. He can go for coins, he can go for another priest, he can go for workers, and maybe try to eke out a double temple, although that looks dubious.
Yeah.
What do you think he
Yeah.
should opt for in this situation?
Temple single dwelling start is pretty painful. I like the workers here, but what I do with them is hard dig. Wait, do I even have enough? No, I don't. You could still hard dig though. You could still take the workers. I'm thinking Logus could hard dig G5, but he only can build one more dwelling following the hard dig. So the hard dig might go on E5 instead. But I think building out another dwelling to snowball your economy in a dwelling scoring round is so important when it's round 1. Like it's worth seeking the couple of extra workers in.
Well, I totally see your point when it comes to that. Certainly, building worker this round, it fits the track very well, especially because you want to build TPs later. But if he isn't it, I believe if he burns a single power to make another coin, he can make F5 a temple still. And
That's
I do think,
true. Mhm.
even though that opening doesn't play the track much at all, I do think it's appealing for Cultist in general. And I also think there's a chance he'll get leech there, because
Mhm.
Bisagoa might choose to build E9 for his temple here, or for his TP. I guess he may not be building a temple this round. And therefore, at some point, Locust will get leech from that F5 square if it's upgraded. So I think I would be inclined to go for the temple, but that might be wrong.
What if we took water 2 as cultists? That would give us so many priests.
Oh my God.
Probably too many. No, I think we're taking fire 1.
Yeah, I think that would be too many priests. I'm not a fan
It'd
of
be
the
4
cultist.
priests. It'd be yeah.
Uh,
It'd be a lot better
Mermaid,
if the water warrior stayed.
yeah, then
Yeah.
if Water was
That's what
faded, then
they
we'd be talking for Water 2.
yes, that's
But
what they desperately need, but yeah.
and I mean, actually, it's actually kind of interesting to me that Cultist has actually got up to the 5th step on Water already, because they're only going to get 1 priest, presumably, right? And then they're going to want to try to get a spade from air. So one might expect them to go to 4 on air and then 1. I mean, sorry, 4 on water and then 1 on air. Why do you think he's chosen to go to 5 on?
I think this might have been this for like I'm not sure if Lotus needed extra power there. He would need extra power to take the coin though. To like convert the extra coin to do the tempo. If he goes down the tempo line, so that that would be necessary. Yeah, that does kind of indicate that he is doing the tempo, and yeah, like I think part of the problem here with Cultist is they receive no leech round 1. Well, they receive like 1 leech from Orange, but basically no leech, and they don't have the good power act. Like they don't get the power actions they need, like the single dig really for round 1 in this game. And I think this could have been foreseen in the auction because basically how the buildings, like how the game has played out this round, has been pretty on script. Like there were a few oddities, like Earth 2, but that doesn't affect the Cultist game. So I'm thinking if maybe the players were betting a little too much on Cultist because this start does not look very good to me.
Yeah, I agree with you. It does seem that after the first round, the Colts have the least economic start. They have the least sort of clear game plan. I mean, obviously they're incredibly strong baseline factions, so things won't be too disastrous. But I do wonder if they were overbid. It does look like they did manage to pass on the spade tile though, and Orin managed to pass on the coins. So that is nice for them.
We did see Oren forego building their last dwelling to pass on the coin ahead of nomads. I really don't like this at all.
Yeah, I don't like it either. And part of it, why I don't like it, is because if you think that Nerdcube wants the coins, why did he take Earth 2? I mean, I just think Earth 2 is signaling that that's not what he wants. Although, to be fair, it looks like Nerdcube ended up passing on to the big building tile, not the TP tile. So I really don't know what he's up to at this point. I will freely admit. I don't understand the purpose of the 8th worker if what he wanted was the big building tile, which has 2 workers on it. Do you have any thoughts on what he's sort of going for with that big building tile?
I'm wondering if he had enough to do the TP thing. Like, he has enough workers, like, if he passed on a TP tile to just build 3 TPs and pass. That will destroy his worker economy, like, in spite of having Earth 2. He could be trying to, he could be aiming for that round 3 instead, because we do have back-to-back TP scoring rounds.
That's true. But is he building his stronghold here? Or is he just taking the 2 workers tile because he wants 2 workers in the coin?
Yeah, I don't think he's building a stronghold, but in particular, it's also the Earth 2. Like, I think if his plan was to go down a stronghold route early, the extra coins would have come in even more handy because of how expensive the nomad stronghold is. Like, not just 8 coins you sink in to build it, but also like after sandstorm on the dwellings you build, it's just a ton of coins.
Yeah, that's true. It does seem like if he were planning to start with a round 2 SH, he definitely would have gone for Fire 1. And also, just to be clear, it does look like Mermaids went for Fire 1, to the great disappointment of both the casters and the chat.
No, I love Fire 1. I mean, I would have loved Water 2 more, but I like Fire. I like Fire 1 too.
I mean, yeah, I think Source is probably right, but I think Water 2 is way sweeter. So there you go. That's my opinion on it.
Yeah, I think part of the reason is like maybe he was considering Water 2, but the way the other people ended up passing, there were no coins left in on the other tiles. So the problem with taking something else would be that Zors would have a sort of an empty round 2. Like I guess he could send a couple of priests to cults, but that'd be it.
That's true. Yeah, he would probably have to do almost nothing, especially
Mhm.
because the coin's action might also be gone before it gets to him. I'm not
Mhm.
sure, but certainly Nerdcube has the option to take it here, and it seems very plausible that Nerdcube might take
Mhm.
it here. Uh,
Mhm.
so I totally understand that you don't want to skip your round 2. Although
Mhm.
Nerdcube is not going for the coin's action, so we'll see how that plays out. I guess no one is threatening it right now, so it's possible Nerdcube
Mhm.
is trying to wheel it. It's also possible Nerdcube prefers the double dig. He kind of has pick of the litter here. At the moment, no one's
Mhm.
threatening either of his power actions.
Yes. Yeah, like I was looking at his resources, and the Dwelling Rush round 1 also meant that factions were getting a lot less leech, and so Nerdcube doesn't quite have enough resources to do double dig build dwellings and build like two, uh, 2 or 3 more TPs to follow. Definitely not 3. I suppose he could manage 2. Um.
Yeah, so I saw someone in the chat proposing the line for Nerdcube of like stronghold 1 TP and then dig down the landscape, which is
Mhm.
possible. Uh,
Mhm.
I don't know if that's what he would. I don't know if that's good for him. I'm still not sure stronghold is the right line, but
Mhm.
it's certainly a consideration. I have to imagine.
Mhm. My view is that early Nomad's landscape is more often a trap than not. Since the extra yellow that you dig out, if you put down your landscape, you're not putting out dwelling. And the cost of that is you lose a couple of workers over the next 1 or 2 turns. Um, I
Yeah,
think if you can get like, I'd say like 4 or 5 coins out of it, it's like that I consider it a good investment. But usually it's closer to 1 or 2 coins.
oh yeah. I don't know how much the maximum number of coins I've ever gotten out of the trade camp in my life is. I think it might be 3. But it's
Uh-huh.
not a big number. I mean, it's definitely one of the landscapes that you tend to put down incidentally. It's not really like the Swarmlings landscape where like it kind of changed your whole strategy. It's just like a free building. You put it down when you need a free building, and you move on with your life. Um,
Mhm.
but interestingly, it does look like he's gone for the coins, which I don't know, to me
Mhm.
suggests he wants to build a big building here, but doesn't
Mhm.
guarantee that just because I feel like
Oh,
if he
actually, I take that back. Nomads will have enough power to do double dig too.
oh
So because Zorus went for, does Zorus go for a 3 worker dig or?
yes, so
Yeah.
Doris has hard dug C1, which
Mhm.
makes sense because Doris is on the temp ship tile. So he wants to get
Yes.
out grab that hex now to utilize his temp shipping instead of
Mhm.
having to invest those 4 coins early in shipping. But that means that Nerdcube has gotten a bunch more leash. Oh,
Mhm.
and the Nomad's Sanctuary comes up. Wow, I did
Mhm.
not expect this. What a crazy line from Nerdcube here. So he's
Mhm.
going to grab presumably Earth 1, but not guaranteed to be Earth 1 here.
Could
Um,
also be Water 1, yeah. Especially that there's no pressure on Earth 1. I don't see Orange coming back to take it anytime soon, at least not before round 4,
That's
even,
true.
yeah.
So he could go for Water 1 and then try to come back around and get Earth 1 later, maybe.
Mhm.
But it's possible that he's only going to get one of those favors regardless, and he just take whichever one is going to score for him kind of in the long run, which
Mhm.
might be Earth 1. I can see arguments for either, but it looks like Nerdcube is going with the more conventional
Mhm.
Earth 1 here.
Mhm. Actually, could Earth 2 also just be a cult play? Because against cultists, one of the strategies I like very much is to focus on, like, it requires some implicit collaboration among the other players, but to have each player focus on winning their cult. So that, like, instead of cultists getting winning 3 cults, cultists only take 1 cult. And Nerdcube has made a very strong play on Earth. Like, as long as he builds a town early, he will be able to win Earth.
That's very true, and it does look like he's right on track to win a town to build a town early with that strong sanctuary he just built. So I do see your point. That certainly seems to be what Nerdcube is aiming for, although it's less clear to me that the rest of the table is kind of on board with this plan, because you can see that Cultist has gotten the 3 spots on both water and air.
Yes, but even I mean, like just going back to the Earth too. Like I was wondering if that, like, how much that played, like how much of a consideration that was locking out the Earth code in choosing his economic favor.
No, that certainly makes sense. He might part of why he taken it might have been he said, okay, I see that when I pass next round, I'll be able to send a priest to cult because I know that I'm going to be the only one with power, and because I know that, I will send a priest to. I'll plan to send a priest to Earth because that 3 spot will still be open because it's not very desired. By taking Earth 2, I am really making a play on that cult, which also gives me early power to do many good things with. So I do see certainly the appeal of that line.
I'm liking this logic more and more, especially since no one else has like any reason to send anything to Earth at all, because Earth is completely devoid of rewards this game.
Yeah, and I actually think this is actually commonly undervalued by perhaps mid-level players in the Terrorist community, where people often will see cults as a means of getting rewards, but not as a means of scoring. And sometimes what you want from your cults is rewards. But sometimes you don't care about the rewards, or you can't get that many of them anyway. And the correct thing to do is to sacrifice all those rewards and just say, okay, no one wants this cult, therefore I can win it, therefore I will take this cult. And I think Nomads, as a faction with a very strong economy, but not much internal scoring, often want to play in this manner. Of just grabbing undesired cults.
Yes, totally agree there. Chad is pointing out an unfortunate path that Locust has gone down. So Locust did end up building a second temple, except it was in round 2 and not round 1.
I'm not a big fan of that.
It's a little unfortunate because especially his pick of the round 1 favor was Earth 1. So it looks like he might have wobbled a bit between lines, like whether to build out dwellings or like early dwellings or not, because there was a lot to be gained, specifically for power if he picked his favors in the other order.
Yeah, and I mean that might have made a huge difference in the sense that, like, okay, Nerdcube was able to get both of the best power actions here, right? He was able to get 7 coins and double tick. But if Locust had taken Air 2, there's no way that he wouldn't have managed one of the two, right? Unclear which one because Nerdcube passed first, but whichever one he does not take, Locust will snap up and then do something good with. Whether it's like grabbing some early shipping with the 7 coins or just double digging and getting out more dwellings, he would build his economy. So it does really look bad in hindsight that Locust ended round 1 with only 1 temple and his favorite being Earth 1. And I sort of think Cultist is in 4th right now. I don't know what your thoughts are, but it's still early. There's plenty of game left to be decided, but that's my current feeling.
Well, I'm sorry, one more? I didn't quite catch what you're calling it.
Oh, I said I sort of feel like because of Cultist's like weak opening with this without the second temple in round 1, and then like not really getting a good power action in round 2, I kind of think Cultist is in the weakest position right now.
I agree. Yeah.
It's not like decided. The game's not over. We're in the second round. There's plenty of Champions left to be played.
Yes.
But I think the odds-on favorite to get 4th right now is Locust.
Yes, like they do have concentrated co-rewards coming down the line, like rounds 2 to 4, so that's a plus for them, and they're doing very well in water and air. But their economy is not great considering that they were the faction that were bit down the most.
Yes, I agree. It's not a situation where Cultist like started with a points lead. Like Locust paid a lot to end round 2 with 2 temples and a dwelling, which is not really where you want to be. And I mean, he even ended up here passing early for the 6 coins, which might be reasonable, but then he's not getting out that dwelling, so he's only going to have 3 workers to play with in this round. He can't really afford to make TPs yet because he has no dwellings down, so he's not really going to be able to capitalize on this very high scoring track. Like, I think there are a lot of problems with this game at the moment. Maybe he can get through it, but I don't like his chances.
He did put a code spade on e5. Did he pass in front of mermaids or behind? But that's okay. He's digging away from mermaids, so he passed in front of nomads, which makes the e5 dig safe enough.
Yeah, I think that dig is totally fine. I mean, nomads also don't like have cult digs coming in to dig it back. There's not really going to be a fight over it. It just looks like he's grabbing that square. And it does look like he's going to secure D4 and manage a central town. I mean, it's not guaranteed. Nomads could still try to like dig up there and make their own 3-square central town, but most likely, I think Cultists will manage it.
Yes, yes, I agree with that. Well, Orans could take it. It's not out of the question, although it's more likely that Cultists will be able to take it.
Yeah, it's true that Oregon could take it. I just don't think they will, because if they take that hex, then like they still need a bridge unless they build their sanctuary in the middle, and their temple's not in the middle. So they have to build like another temple and a sanctuary there. And I just think in the end that's a lot more work than just single digging H4, making a bridge town in the center. But
Yep.
it's there may be some weird reason they'd want it. I'm not too sure. I just don't think it's incredibly likely. Another
So do you
thing
see
is, oh, go.
mermaids have opened a very strong economy opening, tempo 6 dwellings by the end of round 2, and it looks like they're gearing up for a trading post round to catch the last of the trading post scoring. One question here is whether Zorus builds all 4 trading posts, which he could very well do. He's also on the trading post tile, so each trading post is 5 points right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think I would be inclined to go for the full 4 trading posts. I mean, really, why not? I mean, you have so many workers, you manage to get all your dwellings, it's really high scoring, you don't have either of the scoring favors, and you're not getting them that soon, so I would definitely go for it. Just score as much as you can right now, convert your economy to points, capitalize on the track.
Yeah, and then next round well, next round Zorus will run out of workers though. Unless he lands on the big building scoring tile, which he might not have the tempo to do so.
That is true. So let's see. I guess he would have no workers left. His worker income would be 3. And
Yeah.
he probably wants to build his sanctuary, so he's 1 worker short.
Yes.
Yeah.
It just played the track perfectly though, and then with the sanctuary he could even backdoor and take Earth 1. And then like build out dwellings round 5. That'd be pretty amazing as long as he has just a couple more workers to work with.
Well, I mean, that's what I would have in mind for Zorus. I mean, like, I think his most likely favor with that sanctuary is Earth 1. If Earth 1 is run out, he'll probably go for Air 1. Water 1 is going to hold no interest for him if he builds all 4 TPs, and probably holds no interest for him even if he builds 3. But Earth 1 is very good, and yeah, I really like that line for Zorus. And I also think that, okay, it's not a perfect solution, but the answer to his worker problem might be that he does 1 priest to worker conversion. And I mean, yes, that's a little inefficient, but I also don't think it's the end of the world.
He will have to send this priest to water, though.
Yes.
I think that that dig is pretty critical for him.
Oh, certainly agree. I expect him to send this priest to water at some point this round. I don't really think there's a rush, because I don't think anyone else is trying to send a priest to water. The only other person with a priest is Logos, and he has no interest since he's already at 8. But at some point, he will send that priest to water to get that dig, and then his next round priest could be a worker.
Now, I see that.
Now, maybe he won't choose to go for that line. It's not necessarily like obviously right. But I will say that with no ship tile in the game, he has less incentive to use all his priests on shipping. And therefore, there's more of an argument for using one when you just have a worker shortage. Kind of using it to score 5 points is what I would describe it as.
Yeah. I agree with that. He could also just have like he could take the worker power action. It's not great, but once he has his coins economy secured, he could take the worker power action instead, and there's generally no pressure for that at all.
Yeah, that's very true. Additionally, something we missed a little bit in this discussion of Zorus's line is Nerdcube did complete his town and opted to go for a coins town, it looks like, which makes sense. A strong economic town is certainly a very reasonable choice. There may have been some argument for example, the 2-key town or the ship town, but in the end, I like the raw number of coins that town gives you, I guess.
Yes, it does complement Earth 2 very well in terms of a balanced economy.
Yeah, agreed. And he also now has these 2 TPs out. So Nerdcube's economy is looking extremely strong. I think he's very likely to win Network. It's not guaranteed, but that's certainly where my money is. and it looks like we might be having some sort of technical difficulty.
Yes, I'm not quite sure if the viewers can still hear us at the moment. For Zoras. Are we back? No, we're not back. We're
Well, well, let's see. I will believe we're back when I see the stream reappear on Twitch. Aha, we're back.
We're back. Oh, okay. Yes. Okay, we're back. Hi everyone,
Yeah.
we are back.
Yeah, not too sure what happened there, but it appears the stream has resurfaced. Hopefully everybody out there can hear us. But yeah, so let's see, where were we here?
We're rounding out round 3 and seeing who passes first onto the big building tile.
Yeah, that is a very good question. It looks like Nerdcube is totally ready to pass. He doesn't have much else left to do. He could maybe build one more dwelling, but he definitely doesn't like need to build it or anything. Zoras definitely makes to make at least one more TP, so he's not going to pass. He's not getting that tile. This was kind of expected. With this long round sending the Priest to Cult and making 3 to 4 TPs, he was never really in contention for that, I don't think. Logus could pass, and it does have the tempo on Nerdcube if he wants to pass. And he's probably building a sanctuary on E6 next round and trying to go for an early sanctuary town in the middle for the 2-key, is what I expect. And therefore, I think it might make sense for Logus to pass as his next action here. I don't see what else he really has to do. He could send his Priest to Cult, but he's already getting 2 spades from water, so he's in no rush. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. The thing is that Bisagoa might pass before Locust. Like, I think that's what Bisagoa is considering right now. Yeah.
So Bisagoa could definitely pass here. I think it's a little worse economically because I think what Bisagoa would like to do is like something like burn 2 power for coins and make 1 more TP to really get the coin economy rolling. But because he has 8 power, so Bisagoa is able to burn 2 power and still be able to take a 2 spade action at some point. But obviously burning power for coins is like not the most efficient thing ever. He doesn't really need that TP. So maybe he just chooses to instead pass early and grab the big building tile here. Part of my concern with that line, though, is if he does that, is he then going to immediately take a coins action and burn down to 4?
He can't, right? Like because he would have to burn the power to build the TP, so that he wouldn't have the.
I'm saying if he passes immediately, he could do that. If he didn't build the TP, that was a line. But on the whole,
I think he was short. Was it? He had like 0.53.
Oh, you're right. Okay, so that line seems kind of dubious to me. Like, I don't really want to pass early for the big building tile if I'm not also going to get a coins action. Like, my economy is just going to be too harmed by that, I think.
Agree. If he were able to take the coins action, I think it's a lot more appealing.
Yeah. So as a result of that, it looks like Logus is going to end up passing for it, I assume, here.
Yes, this is great for Logus. This is very, very good.
Right, and now Logus will get the coins action. Logus will have the building tile. Logus will be able to sanctuary, take water 1. There's absolutely no pressure on it because Zoras doesn't even want it. So he doesn't have to worry about like first action taking it or anything awkward like that. And Nerdcube is probably going to be a little sad. I mean, he's going to be able to make 1 more dwelling. It's not like end of the world, but that big building tile looked really good for him, I think.
Yeah, I think he could have. Would he have considered the stronghold? He's a little point short, but I think so.
I think if Nerdcube managed the big building tile, which I mean he did not, and I mean his other actions were pretty necessary because he did want that coin town. He did want to use his spade tile. He didn't do anything extraneous this round. He kind of had to do all those things. But if NerdCube had gotten it, it was going to be the full 8 points. I think he would have managed to convert some power to coins, build a stronghold, and set up for that southern town off the green hex I6.
Yes. The key about the stronghold is that the sandstorm ability lets him turn any hex, and that is really the only way he's going to get a southern town.
Yes, and he even needs to do it sooner rather than later, because at some point, if he just leaves that hex open, Bisagawa will get to 2-ship and take it. It's not necessarily like important to Bisagawa. Like Bisagawa doesn't care that much if he gets that hex or not. But if he randomly wants a green hex and that hex available, he will probably take it and disrupt NerdCube. So it's not urgent. It doesn't look like Bisagawa is going to get there that soon, but I still would be, I don't know, counting the minutes if I were NerdCube until I can take that hex. I don't know.
I am a little worried about Bisagawa's game right now. He hasn't built out much, especially since his round 1 start was not 4 dwellings, it was only 3 dwellings. And he's been building more up than out, so I'm not sure if his economy is going to support a 3-town game. I think he might be a little short.
Yeah, it does not look like it. And I mean, the other thing is, I think in general, when Oren go for 3 towns, a lot of the time, okay, there's basically 2 options, right? You almost always go for a town in the east. You almost always go for a town in the center. That's pretty standard, right? Then the other town can either be C4 to A11, or sometimes it can be in the south, like I6, I5, I4, I3. That's the less common option, but also possible.
Yeah, that's outpost scoring town.
Yeah, the outpost scoring town, exactly. In this game, though, both those towns seem tough because the problem with the southern town is that, well, I don't think he's going to win the race to I6. The problem with the northern town is it doesn't look like there are any neighbors up there, and I'm not sure there's going to be anytime soon. Maybe cultists will go up there soon, but cultists, I think, next round is not going to be doing that. I think cultists next round is going to be building their stronghold and trying to carve out their central town. And therefore, both those towns seem difficult to make to me. So I think Oren may just settle for 2 towns.
Yeah. Chat's not having a great outlook on Oren either, and I'm afraid I have to agree. I don't think they have a lot of points left in the tank.
Yeah, I did think that. Okay. So let's assess. We're halfway through this game, right? We're kind of nearing the end of round 3. So what do you think are the order of the 4 players right now, in terms of their odds of winning the game?
Let me see. Mermaids has 46. I'm gonna put Mermaids first. I think Mermaids has a clear path to a lot more score. Mermaids has a reasonable economy, and then like they can try to build 4 more dwellings during the dwelling scoring round, and go for 3 more towns round 6. NerdCube has already built a town, so I think Nomads is trying for 2 towns round 6, and they've already built a lot of buildings. So I'm gonna put Nomads behind Mermaids, probably ahead of Cultists, with Orange in the 4th. I think I might have lost you, Andrew. Are you still there?
I apologize. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
I apologize. There was a real life thing I needed to say 5 words to. My apologies. So yes, I agree with you. I think Mermaids is clearly first. I think Nomads are likely in second. I think Mermaids' game is incredibly strong. They've scored lots of points so far. They have a really nice dwelling ground set up here with almost none of the dwellings on the board, and a probable Earth 1 coming their way.
Well, actually, Earth 1 just went.
Earth 1 goes.
But it's fine. It's fine because Air 1 is worth 11 to 12 points. That's basically as much as Earth 1 right now.
Yeah. So I do think that's unfortunate for them, but really not a big deal. Air 1 is almost as good. The main downside of losing Earth 1, I think, is they cannot then take Air 1 later. There's sort of only one scoring favor available to them is kind of the situation. But in the end, they'll be fine with 1. So yes, I think Mermaids is the strongest game. Nomads are second. And who do you like between Orin and Cultists? I
like Cultists more. I think Cultists they don't have a lot of points right now, but they have the 2 cults. So once we add that in, they're not that far behind. And they have Water 1 incoming, right? They have water one. They have the sanctuary on the sanctuary round with bonus tile, and they still have their 2 towns. Maybe they can eke out the third one. And I think their cult scoring will make up for their lack of connection scoring.
Yes, agreed. It does seem that they have the highest scoring potential of anyone in the game right now, even though they're only at 27 points, which is not a lot. And because of that, I agree with you that I think they're probably above Orin. It's interesting because after round one, I really did like Orin's game. And now, I don't know, it seems that their economy has just not been able to sustain the number of TPs they wanted to build, and also their kind of lack of building outwards. Maybe they need to get more dwellings out. I'm not too sure.
The A10, like I'm sorry to come back to that game, but the lack of building A10, like really, it's 3 workers now at this point. We've like lost the round 2 worker, round 3 worker, and round 4 worker. I think that's like really, really huge.
That's a good point. It does seem that if Bicycle had taken A10, they would have a lot more workers at the moment, and also may have been able to build out more stuff the previous round, so it like may have snowballed. Now, it is true that those lack of coins might have prevented building trading posts, and therefore giving them even less coins. So it's a little complicated, but on the whole, I think that A10 was better. I agree with you, broadly speaking.
It's not even clear that that Nurki was going to hop onto the 6 coin tile that round 1 or round 2, right? Because he ended up going Sanctuary round 2, and we're all like, oh, that was his plan all along. So that could have been his plan all along.
No, I very much agree with you. I think that when the moment Nerdcube takes Earth 2, you cannot believe he will pass on the 6 coins tile. It just doesn't seem like the most logical option from that point. He has something else in mind. Whether it was like the weird TP line or this Sanctuary line, like there's no way he just takes Earth 2 as his first favor and then just grabs 6 coins. I just don't buy it. On the plus side for Orin, though, it does look like they have some tempo on the 2 key, because I don't think Logus can take the 2 key this round. It doesn't look like he has enough stuff. And if he's not able to take it this round, then Bisagoa can take it first action next round with the bridge, right? So he might be able to manage the 2 key, which would be a pretty big deal on the cults, I think.
I'm not even sure if it's good at this point though. I guess that means they can pass Cultists on either water or air, because Cultists would be unable to lock both before round 6. Is that well, they still have to put so many steps into like threatening one of the 2, and then Cultist just goes into the 10th spot, and then like Orin will have to come back and fight for the other. It's yeah, I'm not even sure that it's worth it anymore.
No, that's true.
Orin's.
Also, I suppose if Logus does something like takes workers or converts some priests to workers, maybe Logus can manage this round by building 2 trading posts. And maybe that is his plan. I'm not sure. Although it looks like Logus has gone to the 9th step on water, which would seem to me to indicate that he isn't planning to do anything like that. Like he is expecting to lose the 2 key, or is planning to not take the 2 key, one of the 2, right? Because if he were planning to take it, why would he go to that 9th water step?
Yes, I agree. I feel like this is more indicative of Logus building another a not 2 key town, or like not even just not building a town, just getting to the 9th spot on all the cults, and waiting until round 6 to build towns.
Yes,
because the cult spots, I agree. I think that's more likely now that I talk about it, because the cult spots for air and water are all full. So really, it's going to take Orin a lot to pass cultists in just one, and I don't think they'll be able to manage to pass cultists on both.
Right. So cultist is saying, like, look, here's my plan. I'm not going to take the 2 key. If you pass me on 1, I'll live. I'll win 2 cults, but I'll score 10 bonus victory points by making both my towns in the last round. And that is totally reasonable to me. It's going to be a little tricky because they're going to need to make sure that they don't build any more stuff in those towns until that point. But, they throw one TPs in the east town, and then in the dwelling round, they upship a couple times, ship all around the map to whatever rounds remain, A7, H3, maybe H5 and I8, since it doesn't seem like no one cares about those. And then, I totally like that plan.
It does look like Logus's priest will have to go to workers anyway, or ship, because Logus already has 4 priests at the cults. and he's
Everything.
producing 2 priests every turn. Yes, it's you have to like, and turning them into workers right now is totally fine.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think it's very common that when you open double temple, or I guess even with a slightly later double temple,
Mhm,
you're going to overproduce priests later in the game. Like those early priests are really important to get shipping and to get like cult 3 spots. But as the game
mhm,
progresses, you're going to end up with too many, and you're probably going to end up converting any to workers. And you know what? That's totally okay.
mhm.
I think it is almost inevitable that this occurs when you open double temple, and I don't think Logos is broken up about it one bit.
Well, he.
Oh, but he is forming a town. We are
We are,
incorrect.
we are incorrect there. What town is this though? It's not the 2 keys, unless he has a change of mind. But I don't think it's the 2 keys. I think the step on water was pretty deliberate. It
Yeah.
is the coin town.
Okay, I think this makes sense. So what the situation is? He wants the ship dwellings around the board next round. That's his plan.
Mhm,
And he's like, okay, I think I have enough priests to ship all these dwellings out. Right? He can get to he's 3 priests, so he's totally set on that. But upgrading ship multiple times is going to really tax his coin economy, especially because he wants to get out like 3 or 4 dwellings after he does those ship upgrades. So his plan is to take the coin town, use those coins to upgrade ship, and then hope that the like additional dwellings he gets out are enough to compensate for the lack of those 5 points in the last round.
Yes, yes. Because the dwelling, they're not going to snowball anymore around 5. But if he gets an extra dwelling out, still, like we could still call it like 3 points. Like maybe he could have gotten it out around 6. But he still scores the 2 points from round 5.
Right, exactly. So that's what this one kind of managing is. He'll be like plus 3 or 4 points, and he'll also be plus some resources, and like on the whole, that'll like kind of approximately equal to the 5 points he's losing. I think this play works out. I also think
Mhm,
in general, like Locust has like lots of ways to score right now. He has Earth
mhm,
1, Water 1, he has cults. Like he's not lacking scoring opportunities. What he's lacking is economy. And I think a lot of
mhm,
the time, what you need to do in Terramistica is like you kind of ask yourself, okay, like do I have scoring or do I have economy, and then get that one you don't have, sort of. And
mhm,
that sort of reasoning promotes what Locus is doing. So I like it in summary.
mhm. Yeah, chat says Lotus is trying to connect, and I think he is, and he will succeed. I think he will beat Nerdcube to E8. Partly because I think Nerdcube is going to open coin action, and I also don't think Nerdcube is going to prioritize E8 versus. He could probably take E8 and also like form his town in the north, but I think Nerdcube is going to go for the town in the north first, and that also requires securing a couple more hexes.
Yeah, I think that Nerdcube is. I think he's going to manage to connect. I mean, it is a little tricky because I don't know. There are a couple problems. Like, so he does also need, like, for example, Orin could theoretically block him on like D6 or something, but investing 2 ticks to block someone doesn't seem advisable. Uh, it, I think you're right. I think that if he tries to connect, he will. Now, the
Mhm.
question though is, if he connects, how many network points is he actually going to get? Um,
Mhm.
and I don't know the answer to that. Like, it could be 0. Um, it's
I
not
think it's
more than
at least
6.
6. I think it's at least 6 though. I don't see Orn building out much more.
Yeah, I you might be right. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if he'll have more than Orin or not. If he does have more than Orin, then certainly connecting is worthwhile. Um, but I think it's basically impossible that he'll have more than Nerdcube or Zorus here. Like I think he's fighting for 6, but 6 points is 6 points. Um,
Mhm. Yeah, it's also 6 points in the natural course of building dwellings in a dwelling round degree. Like he's
right.
gonna need one hard dig, and that's it if he takes E8.
No, I think you're absolutely right. I think it definitely plays into this thing that like it's very convenient for him to go for connection because he wants to get shipping anyway. He wants to get out a bunch of hexes anyway. He's not going to have to do anything unnatural whatsoever in order to achieve
Mhm.
connection. So he'll just happen to ship to hexes that make his connection possible. Um,
Mhm. Yep.
and I mean, yeah, I mean, I certainly like that. I think despite a pretty like rough opening, Logus has recovered pretty well. I still think he's probably going to get third, but you know, I'm open to the possibility of him getting second at this point. Um, just on that really strong cult game and a pretty natural progression in the next 2 rounds, I think.
Mhm. One thing chat's pointed out that's pretty amusing, and I was thinking about this the other day, is we do have all 5 of the the factions in the international clash represented in the Premier League this time around.
Oh, that's very true. I had not realized that, but you're absolutely right. Oh, because we have Locust from you're saying yes. Just to go through it, we have Locust from Team Brazil. We have Nerd Q from Team America. Go USA. We have you from Team Asia, and then we have Zoras and Bisagoa both from Team Europe, I believe, right? So
No, Zora's on Team Canada.
oh, Zoras on Team Canada. Sorry, yes, of
Yes.
course. My apologies.
Yes, it's a rematch then to some.
Yeah, forgive me for being a foolish American, but yeah, all other countries are the same to me. Yes, so here, there we go. But yeah, it is pretty impressive that that Premier League kind of just worked out that way, since it certainly was in no way planned, orchestrated. It just kind of fell out that way. But I do think it really speaks to the strength of players in the international class in general, which was extremely high. Um, play. The question I think on everybody's mind is going to be who is going to Logus's big tile is already passed onto the tile. So it like Zolt has one more action. He can do something with his priest, right? And then once he's done that, it's not clear how much more he can do. Maybe a dwelling he can eke out. Oh, and our stream is dead.
Yes, yeah, it's dead for me too. Yeah, I think. Well, it just.
I just think when there's only two scoring tiles, managing to just go one from the other in the last two rounds is really good. I mean, he did not manage one to the other. But yeah, that's still, I think, just excellent for him.
We're back. We're back, right? Hello, everyone.
Oh, are we back? Awesome. Awesome. Okay.
Right. We are back. As as we fight this, but we are back.
Yeah, you'll intermittent NAJ8's commentary on this game. I was just talking to you guys while we were offline about how it's really unfortunate that this is the game where the stream is shoddy, because I think it's very interesting, very good.
I think we're down again.
Oh my god, are we really?
I can't quite tell. I'm not sure.
I can see the stream.
I can see the stream too. There's no one in there though. I see no one in there. Like it gives me 0, and no one's chatting, so I can't quite tell if we're back on or not. Oh, I see you. I see you chat too.
Yeah, I heard. I'll chat. You're back. I'm very. I'm not. I'm still not.
So as with his talent.
Wait.
He's gonna. Zoras has he's just gonna town like right away. Like 9911, I assume, because the code town's used.
I mean, that's kind of perfect, honestly. Like,
yeah.
This is. I mean, if anyone who's watched, I guess.
Oh no, Nerdcube and Oren are gonna town ahead of him though. That's unfortunate.
Oh.
But yeah.
That is unfortunate.
Well, no, Nercube might have to take money, right? And then Zorus is gonna 9911. 9911 is like pretty crazy.
Yeah, I mean, well, presumably Bisagoa is going to take. Well, actually, I don't know what Bisagoa is going to take.
Yeah, I don't know. I was looking to see if he had a third town, but it's not enough.
Yeah,
He's out of TPs. That's actually the big. I think he's close on resources, but he's out of TPs to build.
man. I just continue to just like. Basically, if that's the situation, then like, what if instead of his second TP last round, he'd taken fire too? Maybe he could manage the third town.
Yes, yes. He'd be able to do the digs. Well, it'll be a little painful to do the digs, but I think he can get enough. He can like collect power.
So I think we're back. I believe. Chat
Yes.
indicates that we are. And sorry, so just to fill you in, what we were just talking about, we've just kind of been chatting because we don't know when we're up and down at this point. We were talking about the possibility of a third town for Bisagoa. And what we were noticing is like Bisagoa kind of has enough stuff for a third town, but he doesn't really have the TPs for it. So maybe if he had not built the second TP last round, instead taken Fire 2, he actually might have been able to manage the third town in the north. But as is, we don't think he can do it. I'm not.
We're going to see 3 towns incoming from Zorus. It looks like 1198 because Oren took the priest town. Yeah, I think taking the priest town is also giving up the third town. Although that was probably not happen anyway. But Oren needs to increase the priest ship.
Yes, certainly. And I mean, but I mean, honestly, this is so beautiful from Zorus, in my opinion, right? Like Zorus set things up perfectly for the third town round. He's the only one who's going to score all 3 of his towns in the third round, right? Like Nerdcube and Logus both scored one of their towns early for economic reasons, and that's fine. But Zorus is going to manage all 3 this round, and he's going to manage pretty high pointed towns with them, it looks like. So I love what Zorus is doing here. So it looks like he's going to end up with the priest, the 11, and he's considering his third town right now, I believe.
Yes, I think it's just for score. Yeah, just taking the 8-point count for scoring.
I think it's close.
Or it's actually the shift town more for scoring. But I think he has the raw resources to increase ship, so he doesn't need to he has not really many other places to score now. Like his dwellings are no points. It's just for network.
Yeah, that's true. And it seems that Zorus agrees with you. He indeed likes going with the 8 cult town, even though he's going to get no additional cult points for it. And I mean, I don't know, that's a reasonable choice. I think it's kind of rough, honestly, to go for the cult town when it doesn't score any cult points. Like it's so much less efficient than like the 7 points 2 workers or the 5.6 coins. Not that I think the coin towns are all gone, but just in general, like it's very inefficient. But it might just be his best option because he's in this situation where he has no Earth 1 and no Water 1.
Yes. Like, what's he gonna do now? Upgrade digs, I guess, and upgrade ship. So I guess he takes a priest. He takes a priest and do like 3 ship upgrades and 1 dig upgrade. Calls it a day.
But don't forget that he needs to get out some dwellings because otherwise, so currently Cultist is actually going to beat him on network, right? If he doesn't do anything else. So like he does have to make sure he gets out enough dwellings to beat Cultists. I assume it is not worth it for him to try to beat Nomads, and I don't even know if he can. But I do think competing with Cultists is worthwhile.
Yeah, I guess because he also beats Aurors along the way.
Yes, exactly. Like the alternative is to like, I agree. He could go for 0 network points, or he could go for 12, and I think he should select 12.
Okay. In that case, this is the play. He's going to hard dig and place down his landscape next to D5.
Okay.
And then increase the 5 ship. This will unlock 2 more blues. So the Auror might dig the bottom one.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Oh, that is very cute.
This is a spicy play.
Yeah. The classic 5 ship from the landscape. Okay, yes. I actually don't know if I've ever seen that particular play, but that's kind of beautiful, actually. Yeah, I really like that. So I think you're probably right. That's what he's going for. And it does look like he can manage that without taking a resource town at all. So it does look like his 8 points is correct, which does not surprise me. So it's a very strong player. Do you have any thoughts on where Nomads is at here?
Nomads still have both of their towns, right? Although, like the other players, because Nomads had to take the coin action, or didn't have to, like chose to take the coin action. The high scoring towns are mostly gone by now. But 2 towns is still a lot of points. It's like close to 25 points, even with the pouchy selection of towns. Nomads is also sitting on the scoring tile, and they could take air 1, right, for some number of points. I
Yes.
think they can get to a good place, or they can like increase the dig twice.
And I mean, I think Air 1 is what they plan to do. I mean, I think what they're going to do is they don't have Fire 2, they don't need Fire 2. They're just going to put a TP in the South Town, Temple up top. Oh no, wait, are they one short? Wait a minute. Cannot quite manage that. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out if they need Fire 2. Because they run out of TPs is the problem, right?
They run. They can sandstorm in the southern town though. They don't need a TP in the southern town. So
yes,
they
that's
can,
true.
yes.
Okay. So the plan is yes. So the plan is Temple for Air 1, TP in the North Town, Sandstorm in the South Town. Yes, that has to be the plan. Okay. Yeah, that is a really strong game. I mean, especially because they do score for their dwellings. So the Sandstormed out dwelling will actually help them. And I think they're going to win network. I don't think it's going to be efficient for Mermaids to try to beat them on network. So I don't think they're going to. And yeah, maybe that's enough for Nerdcube to win. I'm not sure, but it seems possible.
Yeah, it's we could do some math, but we could do some math on the stream to see how close Nerdtube is getting.
Yeah, so this is a stream where math is allowed, but personally, I never do any math when I play, so I'm not about to do math now. I mean, I know that some people like math out exactly how many points each of their opponents have and like go from there, but personally, that's a lot of work. So normally I just do things that make sense and don't worry about it. And like I have a sense of the scores, but I never know exactly.
Yes. Yeah, I think like usually just a general sense of the score is more than enough. Except for round 6 is a town round. And then you have like town points incoming, you have resource incoming to build more things, and then it's just like it's impossible.
Yeah, agreed. It does look like Zorus went for the line of upgrading digs. So presumably he's upgrading digs again. Or maybe he's going shipping. I'm not sure. He's got a lot of options. But I assume his plan is to use those digs to get out more dwellings to do well on network. And to get out his landscape. So.
Oh, and we see Nomads put their landscape in a critical spot to get that sweet 1 coin from Mermaid's build. This is very precise play by Nerdcube over here.
I appreciate it. Yeah, he wants to randomly get out his landscape. He puts it on I6. There you go. Oh my god. You kind of love to see it. Wait, actually, Nerdcube could go for water one here. Yes, and he does. He does.
Oh my god, there's still a copy of water one left. Oh, that's amazing. That's right, because Mermaids was never going to build any more trading posts this game. So the water one was just like sitting there forever. Wow, that's amazing.
Oh, it's awesome because now when he builds these 2 TPs, he will score 3 points each, as opposed to just scoring 1 point for each of them with the Air 1. So yeah, that makes Nerdcube's game actually noticeably better. And we missed it the first time. Cultists is almost out of stuff. They don't have that much more to do in this game. In the end, they are going to win their 2 tracks. They are finishing up their 3rd town. They are managing to connect, and looking like, as predicted, they will score 6 points, I think, assuming Mermaids gets down their last 2 dwellings, and assuming Cultist gets down not much more, which I think is probably true.
One more. Right, 1 more. I think Cultist can manage 2? Do they have 2? I think they just have. They might have 2.
Well, where's the second one go? Like, what do you
They have to take the single dig. They do have the 2 priests to build, but they need 4 coins and a single dig. And they're a little short. Yeah, they're only 1 power short of that though. And if someone denies them leech, they get half a power. Because if someone accepts their leech, they get 3 power, so that's enough.
Yeah,
so
you're right.
They just need a little more to build out another dwelling. Which is really strong, like going up to 14 structures.
Yes. Now, I don't think Zorus will accept their leech, because what's going to happen is they're going to build H3. It's going to be a 2-for-1. But given that Zorus went for the 8-1 town, there's just no way he needs more resources, I think. Like, he would have gone for a resource town if he needed more resources, so since he went for 8-1 town, he doesn't.
Mhm.
And so he's going to decline. That will give him half a coin, and that half a coin is still not enough. He needs another half coin. So I'm not sure if he's going to get it. But yes,
Yeah,
indeed.
agreed. If a Locust could figure out that Oran or Nomads need the leech, I'm not sure if they do. Zorus could actually take the single spade first, and then build to like secure the power first before building H3.
That's true. Yes.
Although is H3 H3 is actually under threat from Mermaids because Mermaids has a full digs now. So
Oh my god. Wait. Sorry. Do you mean H5 or wait?
No, I mean like build H3 last. Like
Gotcha.
yeah, build somewhere else first. Yeah.
I see what you're saying. You're saying changing the order of what he did. H3 is where he already built.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Gotcha.
Yes.
No, you're right.
But no,
He
that
probably,
doesn't. That doesn't work.
yeah, it unfortunately does not. And yeah, I mean, as we close out this game, it does look like Bisagoa is going to manage 115 points. I assume he's out of actions or very close to out of actions. 115 isn't bad, but with no network and mediocre calls, it does not seem like it's going to be enough. I still think Bisagoa is going to be fourth. But actually, everyone else looks close to me. I mean, I haven't. Again, I'm not doing math. I'm not a math doer, and this isn't a math stream. But it does look like Logos is what 102 with at least 6, maybe more network, depending on how many dwellings Mermaids manages here. Like, call this. Down to 4.
Wait. Weeks ago, I just said like mistake in the chat because he gave Logos 2 power.
Oh wow! Okay, wait, that's a huge game. So now Locust is going to manage the 15th dwelling, guaranteed. The 15th dwelling.
That's
the 15th dwelling.
14. I'm sorry. Yes, 15.
Yes.
But Nomads is at 16.
I believe this means that Mermaids will only score 6 on network. Cultists will score 12 on network, and Nomads will score 18. That's what I believe will happen. I could be missing something, but I don't think Mermaids can get out 2 dwellings and their landscape, right?
No, there's no way. Mermaids is out of raw workers to work with.
Yeah, which I think is so. Okay, so here's the actual implication of this. If Zorus had not taken the 8-1 town and taken the 7-2 workers town, they'd be able to manage it. Because the 8-1 town, the only resource gave them was 2 power, and if they had 2 less power here but had 2 more workers, they'd be able to manage dwelling, landscape.
Dwelling, landscape. I think yes, because they don't need that extra coin. Yes, exactly, and that'd be exact, like perfect.
Yes,
and it's not disruptible. It's not like there's nothing. But Mermaids blocked it by taking the single spade.
Right. Okay. Very
amazing.
Smart. Yeah, very smart play from Zorus to prevent Logos from getting out another dwelling. Logos couldn't take the single spade early because he wasn't sure he was going to get the leech, so he has to wait the last minute. And as soon as Mermaids sees that he now has enough leech to do that, Mermaids takes it. Very, very smart. I'm still not sure this was better than just having those 2 workers and getting out more stuff from Zorus, but this does seem like a good play given the situation that he was in.
It's probably better because as long as cultists don't build, you don't want to build either, right? Like Mermaids, every dwelling they build is like it's nothing. It's
that is true.
Network.
And I mean, I honestly think it's kind of impressive that Zorus ended up managing 3 towns without the use of the landscape. I feel like often part of the strength of Mermaids' flexibility is that they can skip a water space and put down the landscape to really get a town where like it looks like no town is possible. You know, like sometimes they can manage, for example, the E4 to F2 town and the I2 to I4 town through use of the landscape. But in this game, Zorus just very straightforwardly, like ABC Mermaids got 3 easy towns. Has to take a bridge, but other than that, smooth sailing. I think it's a really nice game for him, regardless of whether it is enough. And I'm not sure if it is or not. He's up 20 points, but he has the weakest network and not great calls of the people other than Bisagoa. So we'll see.
He's up. Do you count the pass tile and air one? There's like 12
that's
points coming
true.
from
That's
there.
true. He's passing for 12. Maybe it is
Mhm.
enough. Yeah, that's a good point. 12 is a lot of points. I had forgotten that he was on the pass tile actually, which I should not do. But falling 4 games at once is hard. Yeah, so
We're gonna give him 130, 138. I have mermaids at 144.
which is
I
a
don't.
very good score, but it is a
Yeah.
high-scoring game and a high-scoring track, so it's hard to say if that's enough. I mean, Cultists is pretty much out of stuff. They're at 101. They're going to score 9 network to 110, and then like
12, right, 9 network. Oh, so yeah. So mermaids is actually at 147. Yeah. Oh, sorry, Cultist at
oh yeah, they're
110.
tied. Yes, yes.
Yes.
Um, so I don't think they can make 147.
No, no, they're in the 130s.
Yes. So, okay, so then the only question that remains is, does NerdCube have 147? And that
I
question
don't
boils
think
down.
so. 87 is too low right now to make it, I think.
Yeah, I think you're right. He has a bunch of points coming, right? He has Water One, Earth One somehow, and he is going to be able to finish this town, take presumably a worker town, maybe a power town. I'm not sure what resource he needs more. Put down that dwelling, maybe even like because looks like he actually hard dug out the landscape, so he still has his sandstorm. So he's definitely gonna put down another dwelling. He could maybe even like temple for Air One or something after that. But on the whole, with only 8 cult points and a network win, it's just not going to be enough, I think.
Well, 8 gold points at network win is 26 plus the pass tile is 34. That puts NerdCube at 134. 140, 130. It's I think NerdCube is about 4 points, 4 or 5 points short from Zorus.
Yeah, you might be right. It certainly is very close.
So we
And
still have a dig upgrade or ship upgrade coming.
yes,
And a dwelling, yeah.
and I mean we've known the whole game. I mean, at least, well, perhaps not known as strong, but we've thought the whole game that this game is going to come down to NerdCube Resource, right? Like Logus had a really rough opening, even though he had a really strong recovery. Like it's just hard to come back from such a weak start when Terramiska is such a snowballing game. Bisagoa had a solid opening, but his economy kind of crumbled in rounds 2 and 3 when he wasn't able to get out much more. And partially because he didn't build a 10 in round 1, he had kind of a worker shortage, which hurt him pretty badly. So it's always kind of been about NerdCube Resorts. They both have gotten tons of leech from each other, actually. They've been really good neighbors. They both built tons of stuff, played network games, hit the track really hard. And in the end, though, it does seem like Dors's plan was just so natural, played the track so well. It looks like it's going to be a little bit stronger, but we'll see.
It's really close though, even from top to bottom. Like just a little over 10 points difference. Looks like we're at. Yeah. Like I'm not even sure Locust is third. Orange also score well into the 130s. Do I have that right?
Yeah, you might be right. Yeah, I won't do the math. Whatever. One of them is third.
We're just waiting for NerdCube to do the final calculations on how best to convert his points.
Yes, and I mean, again, I think it's a little sad that this game had so many technical difficulties because I think it is a really good game. I think that I was very unsure of the victor throughout. I think there were a lot of decision points for the players, made a lot of tough calls, played some really strong games, and yeah, I'm happy to have cast it, I guess.
How does NerdCube still have his sandstorm left, by the way? Did he accidentally free work a hard dig? This is like a bit of a tangent, but
I think he meant to. I think he had just tons and tons of stuff and I mean, dwellings are 2 points for him, and I think he determined that like this was the most efficient way of doing things. Or maybe he was worried about the network. Maybe he was worried that would make 15 network, and so like he wanted to make sure he could get to 16 network because he was concerned about Cultists getting 15. That's my best guess.
Yeah, because the most efficient way ended up being dig upgrade and ship upgrade, and so his sandstorm did go away here at the end.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Again, my best guess is that he just wanted to be prepared to get to 16 in case Cultists went to 15, which I think does make sense, because that's a lot of points. And so he just invested the 3 workers with the understanding that it would be worthless if Cultists did not manage that additional dwelling. But given how close Cultists were to managing that dwelling, and the fact they didn't only because of Zoras's block, it seems to suggest that that foresight was prudent. But yeah, now we have the great tallying here, as Nerdcube calls it.
Yes, I think oh, so we get to interview Zoras himself on a stream. That's perfect.
Oh wow, that is pretty perfect. I have to agree.
Didn't see Zoras advanced dig comments Logos. So it was oh my god, it's really close and between Orin and Cultists here. Though the extra leech that Logos accepted almost cost him.
Yes, I mean he has to go for it, right? Because if he managed that dwelling, it's such a big game. But yes,
Yep.
Well, yes, but it does appear in the end, Zora's able to triumph by 4 points. Top to bottom, this game is only 12 points separating them, which means that for all our quibbles about Bisago's game, Bisago still played an incredibly strong game. Props to him for sure. I definitely don't want to give the impression that this game wasn't excellent, because it was. 135 is a very good score, especially while not scoring much on network or the call. It's basically a kind of a raw 135, you might say. And yeah, congrats to Zoras on an incredible game played. Congrats to Nerdcube on finishing second in the first game of the season. Maybe gonna do a little bit better this time than last time. We'll see.
Ooh. Yes. Are we getting Zoras?
Yeah, I'm not
I think
sure,
yeah.
Guys,
but
Hopefully his technical difficulties don't extend to unmuting himself. But
guys,
I
can you hear me?
think yes, we hear you now, Zoras.
Okay, good.
yes, are you joining us for our winner's interview here?
Yeah, I'm with us. I'm with you now.
Okay, cool. Yes. Well, I mean, yeah. To start with, yeah, congratulations on a very strong Marines game. Yeah, we absolutely loved your game basically throughout. We really liked the kind of lots of dwelling in round 1 and 2 into the full 4 trading posts in round 3 to maximize the track and then not even need Water 1 or Earth 1 to score. I thought it was a beautiful game.
Yeah, thank you. It was by no means intentional from the start, but before the stream started, I've heard EG was chatting with Deepfinesse, and EG said that on the base map you never see something unusual, and usually if it happens, it's wrong. So I'm happy that it happened on one of these rare cases where it just worked out.
Yeah.
I was afraid all game long it will be proven, but in the end, hold on.
I mean, yeah, I think that, I guess from our perspective, I mean, obviously you were in a game playing frantically, so I'm not sure what it was like for you, but for us, it seemed pretty clear kind of the whole time that the game was going to go to either you or Nerdcube, but we were pretty unsure who it was going to be up until the very end. And so, I don't know, that was a real treat, I guess. But yeah, I think as far as your game goes, I think we mostly agreed with what you were doing, so I don't have like some specific decision point to question you about because I mostly liked it. I don't know if I don't know if Deep Finesse feels differently, but
well, I think I sort of see 3 critical points, like key decision points in the game. One where we talked about where Zoras went for 4 trading posts in the trading post scoring round. One was early on in round 1 where you had a choice of favorite tile, and we're looking at Earth 1 versus Fire 1 versus Water 2. There were a lot of proponents for Water 2, but was wondering if you were considering any of the alternative options, or if Fire 1 seemed very clear to you, given the lack of leech and how you need more resources.
Yeah, I fire. Well, of course, Water 2 was tempting because of the culture word. I was thinking of my friend George. I could imagine him in the chat. I don't know if he was there
Oh, he was
screaming
there.
for it.
Don't worry, don't worry. He was advocating for it.
But in the end, I often feel that the blue cult reward is not always that rewarding. And to me, it was clear that I will need coins. So the two favor I really debated was Earth one and Fire one. Um, and I thought with Oren going Dwelling Rush, I thought that maybe Earth one could be taken later, maybe not. But I like kind of the flexibility of going for Fire one in a game where I was afraid of being low coin. I knew I would have tons of workers, but I thought if I can balance that with coins, I thought could be good.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, when we were watching, I mean, part of the thought behind Water 2, which I think was probably based on what you did, but part of the idea was that you'd get a priest in round 1 and then a cultic in round 2 off the air track because you can go up air, and then you'd also get another cultic the next round. Was sort of the idea. But I think on the whole, coins were the tightest resource in this game because there weren't much on the track, and there was only the 6 coin tile as far as passive tiles go. So I think it makes sense to have done what you did in general.
Yeah. Also, there was the fact that it was Aaron and not witches, so I expected the call to be like very disputed, and I thought maybe I would not get as much points from Water One in such game.
Yes, and I mean the fact that you almost did get Earth One as you predicted. I mean, Orange took it like just slightly before you in I think round 4. So it definitely makes sense because if you'd got it, then you'd have had it right ready for the dwelling round. So it sort of all worked out, even though you missed it. Yes, and what was the last point you were thinking of, Deepness?
So like towards the end, when you finish building your towns and we're closing out the game, we're looking at curriculum line for you where you place your landscape next to your sanctuary, and that opens up 2 more blue hexes if you increase your ship to 5.
Was there? I know I was looking for that, but maybe I missed it. Yeah.
Yes.
But the dig increase was more points though, and it's also like less disruptible. So I think that was the way to go.
Well, and I
Yeah.
also wondered about your last town selection. I think is very interesting. Like, basically, as you may recall, like you were in the situation. So your first 2 towns were pretty clear, right? You took 2 high point towns, the clear best towns available, and then you had a choice between a cult town, which basically gives you 8 points and 2 power, or a 7.2 worker town. So it's like less points but more workers, and you ended up going with the 8 points. But then later on, it seemed that like if you had taken the 7 points, you could have managed 2 more dwellings, and therefore not have had to block cultists with the single dig action. Do you have any thoughts on that decision?
Yeah, you might very well be right, EJ. It's a tough decision. I just went for the highest point down. I could see,
Okay.
but it's at that point I was so stressed also about the network going down and everything.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know how Bizzo manages when. I don't think he does though. I think not like in a bad way, but it's just like too much pressure when you have like, oh, is the stream working? Oh, I need to win this game. Like,
yeah, it's.
Oh, I think the game should like it's doubly impressive because of the stream issues. Like the fact that you won in style while dealing with like huge issues on that end, I think is incredibly impressive. Yes.
Thank you, EJ. I want to apologize to the viewer. I really don't know what happened. Actually, it seems like the network keep going down, and it was strange because on my laptop it was still working, but on the computer where the stream is, it's just wasn't going. So yeah, it happens. Thanks a lot, guys, for streaming. I know I'm looking forward to listen to the replay or what we'll do left of it after the issues we had.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a wonderful game. I think we had some interesting comments. I mean, you might occasionally hear us say, "Hey, are we back up?" because we're confused a lot. But other than that, yeah, it was pretty cool. So yeah.
All right.
I guess that's a wrap for this week, and we'll see you next week with more Premier League action.
Thanks for joining us, everyone.